Good evening, friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is a wonderful night to be alive. Welcome to interviews, coffee, and questions with yours truly. And tonight we have a special guest, Story. I'm really excited to hang out with her tonight, hear her story, no pun intended. Wait, Desert, what? I'm here watching you on three streams. How is that even possible? Who's the third person streaming? I only know of one. One. Hey, Pastor Susie, good to see you. Who's this third person streaming that Desert's like, I'm here watching you on three streams? Oh, XP Church. Duh. Duh. I knew that. Hello, Simcha, my beautiful bride. I love you so much. It's good to see you. Welcome in. It's going to be a good night. So we almost canceled the interview tonight, believe it or not. I'm going to go ahead and bring Story up here and she's going to share with us. So we almost canceled. Almost.
You're
She's
close. Almost.
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 So what happened? Why did we almost have to cancel?
Uh, so this is Latin American life. So we have a field trip. I work at a school during the day, and the field trip was planned for tomorrow. Well, this weekend, some of the parents of the smaller kids, because I have second and third grade, were concerned about the kids going to a place that had a pool. They were concerned about them falling in and having an accident. So they called the pastor and were like, "Hey, we're not comfortable with this." And he's like, "Okay, I'll change it." So he changed the field trip location. And originally it was going to be first grade was going to one place, all the other grades going to the other place. Tuesday, some more parents called. So he's like, okay, never mind. First and second grade are going to one place, all the other grades are going to the other place. Then the location called and was like, hey, we can't do Friday. So yesterday, I was told, hey, you're going on a field trip tomorrow. So today I have been on a field trip to the zoo with 24 first and second graders.
24.
24.
Do you have any energy left?
No. No.
uh, Amanda says
Words
hi,
are
by the
hard.
way. She's here in the
Hi.
chat with us.
Hello,
So
friend. I will purposely use the words feel, heal, and bill from now on.
is is there a story behind this?
There is. Those are my southern words. I can't say them correctly. So heel is like walking up a heel, and the heel of your foot is the same.
Oh, yeah. There's a difference between those.
Not anymore.
No, she says. No, says Amanda. That's great. Oh man. Yep. So, story. I have to ask because I asked your permission to ask this question.
Yes.
How did you get your gamer name?
It is my name. Story is my last name. So it is Story with Jeremiah 29:11. Just to keep my focus on like, okay, God has a plan and a purpose for you, and it's for good and not for evil. So remember that.
I love it. I love it. I actually got my name. Um, well, I don't share on stream where I got my name. Most people in the chat probably know, but um, I like the fact that Rhino Mealer sounds like a rhino milling wheat. And the reason why we're here tonight interviewing Story is because we are people that Story and I that have been in the harvest field, and we have prayed and asked the Lord to send out more workers into the harvest field. And as a part of that answer to a prayer, we've also raised our hands and said, Lord, I'm willing, send me. So there are many people like that in our chat today, and I hope there will be many more. I hope that stories will inspire you to be that kind of person. Uh, like the only thing holding us back from that is us just saying yes and going, um, taking that step, going to the point of no return, and walking by faith instead of by sight. So that's why I brought story here tonight. The verse actually that this comes from, I can pop it up on the screen. Anybody in the chat, like, you can use this whenever you want throughout the stream. I have the Forge Bible bot in here. It'll pop up that verse up on the screen for everyone to read. So if you have input, please put that in the chat. Um, Hopefully, it will also the Forge Bible bot will take care of my alerts tonight. We're kind of testing that. We'll see if it works. So if you follow me, I should also get a pop up on the screen with the Forge Bible bot telling you that somebody followed or rated or whatever. So, anyways, should be fun. Should be fun. Selfishly, I have my own questions that I want to ask Story first, but you guys are welcome to ask questions. If you ask them at any point during the stream, I'll do my best to highlight them and queue them up. So my setup highlights them if you just ask it in question form, like a how, what, why, when, where question. I should be able to see those pretty easily and queue them up uh, so that we can ask those questions of story later. But especially start asking them towards the end when I get through my questions, which I have about 5 of them. So yeah. Before we dive into those questions, though, I would like to pray for this evening. So let's do that. God, thank you so much for being present. Thank you for bringing Story here with me tonight. I ask that you would help us to get out of the way and let you speak. You're our King. You're our King, Lord, and we want to serve you with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And we want to bring together missionaries from around the world to share stories and inspire other people to be workers in the harvest field. And we want to support our missionaries and give them the prayer and the support that they deserve, because they're out there, God. They're out there doing what you called them to do. It's in your name that we pray. Amen. All right. Um, let's see here. My first question tonight is quite simple. Welcome to the stream, Solex. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in
Oh, the
forever.
friend.
Yeah, it's our
Hello.
friend. It's our friend Solex. Man, not seen. Okay, so totally sidetracked now by this wonderful, amazing person that popped into the chat. Okay, my first question tonight is simply this: where are you originally from, and how would you describe yourself?
I am originally from North Carolina. I am the reason that Matt and Amanda went to North Carolina, and I'm very proud of that. Um, Describing myself.
Like
Uh,
hobbies, interests,
Hobbies?
something unique about you.
Oh, there's a lot of things. I don't know where to start with that. Uh, of course, I like gaming. That's why, I've been around. Um, I read a lot.
Mm,
I climb mountains. Um, Done taekwondo for many years. Clearly, also a soccer fan.
nice.
Uh, Jeez,
But it's
yeah,
like
there's a lot.
football down where you're at.
It is football. It's
Yes.
football. If you say soccer, they look at you funny.
They're like, "What's soccer?"
Um, so yeah, there's a lot of places I can go with myself. I
Yeah.
am introverted, but I'm a very strange introvert because I talk to everybody. So yeah.
So have you ever, this is totally random, have you ever been mistaken as an extrovert?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, sometimes people don't believe I'm an introvert until you're around me enough to know that I'm very happy being in my room for 5 days straight.
Mm, yeah, for sure. So you were telling me that you kind of had some minor catastrophes that while you were out with the kids during your mission and stuff earlier,
Um,
and you said that there was a an
there was a
animal walking
capybara.
around. Why did
I
that
don't
make?
know.
Why was that so funny to you?
I don't know if it was supposed to be in a pen or not. But so the big thing for kids, you know how like each generation has that one animal that they hook onto. Like I think my generation it was llamas.
Mm,
Um, for this one here, it's capybaras. And so we were out at the zoo and leading the kids around, and there's a capybara sitting on the sidewalk ahead, and they're not native to this area. And so we're like, I don't know if it's supposed to be there or not, but we're not going to take the kids there because they will try to touch it. And so we go in a different direction, keep walking around, and then we see it again. And of course, all the kids are like, "It's a capybara!" Run after the capybara. Please don't touch the capybara. And so we just keep running across this capybara all across the zoo. So I don't know if it lives there, if it escaped and they just gave up trying to catch it, but we had an extra exhibit around the zoo today.
we might never know unless you personally know the zookeeper.
Or we go back and it's in a pen or something. By that point,
True, true.
finally caught him.
So you were telling me right before we started streaming that you've been to with this current mission that you're a part of. What's the name of the mission?
So the organization that sends me is called Mountain Gateway.
Uh huh.
The organization I'm working in is called Free the Oppressed.
Okay. So you've been to Honduras. You said Nicaragua, and what was the third one?
Mexico.
Mexico. So, what was it like for you being from North Carolina? What was it like for you overcoming, learning the cultural differences between where you once lived compared to Central America and Mexico?
Um, I think like Mexico was difficult because
Mm,
where my organization works in Mexico, it's just way out in the jungle. A majority of it's still indigenous villages. And it's very much when you are in a church setting, women don't speak to men. During services, women typically don't preach or share. Um, you're still wearing skirts. There's no jeans allowed, no earrings, no makeup, nothing
mm,
like extra. Um, so it was, I think the biggest challenge of that was, you came to minister to people, and you want to share and you want to talk and you want to pray for them,
mm,
but you're kind of just having to do it silently in the background. And your ministry becomes more serving and showing than it is being able to say something or like physically do something.
mm,
Whereas in the States, like feel free to go wherever, do what you want, speak to people, within respectable boundaries, but there's just not the same kind of limitations. But then here in Honduras, it is a lot more modern, a whole lot more modern.
mm,
So the biggest cultural differences here, I would say, is just kind of getting used to um, the challenges that they have, like as a culture, because Honduras is very large, but the place I live is very small. Everybody knows each other. You
mm.
can't do anything in the town without like five other people finding out about it, and then 20 other people know about it by the next day. Like I wore this jersey one day, and the next day somebody came up to me and was like, "Hey, I heard you like football," and I didn't even know the guy, knew nothing about him. And so it's like here it's kind of getting used to the fact that like news travels fast. Um, Everybody knows each other. So therefore, a majority of what you like the influence you have comes through your connections.
Mm,
Um, and I feel like you see that in some ways, like in Jesus's lifetime, where like the people who took care of him were people who had connections. Where you see like after Jesus's death and resurrection, Joseph, however you say the place he was from, was able to go to Pilate and say, "Hey, can I have his body?" Like that's a connection.
mm.
So that's kind of how things work here, where it's like depending on your connections really determines your influence.
Mm, yeah,
So those are probably the biggest things.
fair. Do you have any stories of overcoming a cultural obstacle? You have any stories
Ooh,
about that?
um,
Putting you on the spot a bit with this one.
yeah, because there's some interesting ones with Mexico. I would say like the biggest story came where there was a day where we would have like a church service in somebody's house, and then we'd jump in a truck, drive 3 or 4 hours up to another mountain, have another service, and keep going. And there was one service where a guy came in and he was like, "Hey, um, my wife needs prayers. She's been sick. The doctors are saying like she won't live.
Mm,
So I really want for you guys to come and pray." So we told him we would come after we finished the church services because for everything that we do, if we give our word, we try to keep that because for a lot of the people there, this is their first encounter with God. And so we want them to know
mm,
like God keeps his word. And so we're going to keep our word. Um, so we finish the church services and we drive to their house. It is pouring rain. It's in the middle of the jungle. It's like super dark. We're getting through the jungle by like headlamps. And we get to this house and she's laying on, they didn't have like a bed really. They had like these pallets with wood board across it with some
oh,
blanket on top. And she
mm-hmm.
was laying on that. They've got like this dugout dirt floor. Their walls are just like bamboo sticks stacked up with a tin roof and stuff. So we go in to pray for her. And she tells us like she hadn't been able to move for a couple weeks. Like they took her to the doctor. The doctor said it was something with her kidneys. They didn't have money. So they were pretty much like, you just have to go home and you probably won't make it.
Mm,
Um, so we come in, and of course, because she's a woman, the men can't be the ones to like pray over her. So we the women have to pray over her. And so that I got to go and pray for somebody. It was the first time I actually got to speak in Mexico. um, so I get this opportunity to come and to pray and to kind of have, because the men were kind of hesitant, like the indigenous men, because they're like, the women are praying. Like,
mm,
is it going to have effect or not? Because that's just still the mindset at the time.
huh.
So we go and we pray for her, and when we finish, like lightning strikes, and
Oh,
lightning doesn't happen in the rainforest. It's just a lot of rain. And so we're like, okay, we're just believing like that was a confirmation from God that like healing is going to happen and things are going to change. And so we leave that night. Um, and I want to say like 2 or 3 nights later, we are finished with the day. We're back in the house, and we get a knock on the door at like 10 at night, which is very normal there. People just show up. So you just got to be ready at all times of the day. So we scramble, get ourselves ready, and we open the door, and it's the man and his wife. And she said that next day she woke up and she was like, I think I have to go to the bathroom. And she just got up and went to the bathroom. And then she's like, well, I guess I'll do laundry. And she went and did laundry. And so they took her back to the hospital because, her husband's like, what is going on? And the doctors were like, why'd you bring her here? She's fine. Like, what's what's the problem? You're just wasting our time being here. And they sent her
mm,
back home. And so it was through her husband letting go of the cultural mindset of like that men have to be the one to like lead the prayer and
mm,
to lead the things. Um, and that just allowed Jesus to have the space to move and to heal his wife. So that one was super
mm.
awesome.
Wow. Wow. So that is very common down there then in Honduras.
That one was in Mexico.
Okay. Mexico. Okay.
Um, Honduras? Mm,
Is Honduras the same way or not? Or would you
no,
say it's different?
it's very, very different.
Okay.
Very different.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot more freedom. I mean, I'm wearing pants now, so
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm safe. um,
Yep.
Honduras, I think the biggest thing would just be being a voice for people who don't know how to have one. because the cultural thing here is like I was saying, people talk, so gossip spreads very fast.
Mm,
And so because of that, a lot of times people won't stand up for the truth because they're afraid if they do so, then other people are going to talk, and then everybody looks down on them because they stood up for something people didn't agree with, and it just continues the cycle of fear and whispering behind everybody's back.
mm,
And so probably the biggest part of that recently has been just encouraging people to stand for truth and to watch God move because they stood for truth. Um, so probably the most recent one of that was there was just conflict at the school, trouble with the teachers, getting along. Um, and I just kept encouraging, like, hey, go talk to them because even the Bible says like if you have an issue with your brother, go bring it up to them. Um,
mm,
and she fought it for a little while, but then she was like, you know what? You're right. Like if I don't say something, they don't know. There's no way to work through this. So she went and talked to them, and it went so much better than she could
mm.
imagine. And it's just they are having a lot more open communication, and it's actually helped the whole team of teachers because now everybody's doing it now because they're
Mm.
seeing the open communication that's allowing them to work better. So,
That's awesome. Mm. So, what is your story in the sense of how you came from being American to like I'm going to go do cross cultural mission work?
mhm.
How did God bring you from point A to point B?
um, there was a lot of prayer involved. Like I spend a lot of time in prayer, and I always kind of had this love for helping people kind of grow in their giftings and abilities and be able to go serve the Lord in those things. And I had always been praying for, kids in orphanages or people who are looked over, like the gypsies in Romania. And if you say gypsies in Romania to Romanians, they'll tell you that there's no gypsies in Romania, but there's a lot of them because they overlook these people. And there was a day that I was praying for, I believe I was praying for orphans in France at the time. And I was praying the very verse you said, Matthew 9:37, of like, okay, Lord, like, Lord, send workers. And I heard him say, like, I send you.
Mm,
Um, and so I started, praying about what does that mean? Like, where do I go with that? And at the time, I had a friend who was in the organization I'm currently in, and she kept calling me and going, like, what do you think about this organization? And I was like, no, it's not for me. Like, I don't really care about Spanish speaking nations. Like, I failed Spanish twice in high school. It's not for me. Um, and about the third time that she called, I heard the Lord say, like, no, I want you to go there because what they do is they train missionaries and they teach them how to stay. Like, how do they stay in whatever place the Lord has called them to, no matter if they, finish the training, go back to the States, finish the training, go on to a different field organization in the field, which is what I'm doing right now, or finish the training and they stay within the organization and work in the countries that they're in. And so I joined. And so throughout that time, originally they only worked in Mexico. Um, and then doors opened for them to work in Nicaragua. Um, and things were amazing in Nicaragua until the government kind of had a turn apart, arrested some of our pastors, and it was like, okay, we can't be in that country anymore. So they had created connections here and
mm,
decided to send missionaries here.
mm.
So I became one of those missionaries sent here to Honduras.
So, what did you feel in that moment when you said yes? What what was that like?
I was terrified. I think everybody's terrified. Wouldn't you be terrified?
Yeah, I've had
It's
my
not.
moments, story. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like God asks you to do something that it's like sometimes it starts with excitement and then you're terrified, and then sometimes you start terrified and then you get excited and then you're terrified again because it's always something that's so much bigger than you feel like you can handle yourself. um, which it needs to be most of the time, because if it was something that you could put all the things together for, you knew all the answers, like you know, you could make the entire plan. Like, would you really need to trust in God at all?
Mm,
No. What lesson are you learning then? I can do it myself. It's
mm.
not a great thing to lean on.
Yeah, terrified. That's very real. And hey, just as a reminder, friends, if at any point something hits home for you tonight, clip it, share it, and I'll do my best to share it too. So if something hits home with you tonight, the spirit's like, I need you need that tonight. Clip it and share it. Clip it and share it. All right. What do you think, Story? What is a lie that holds people back from becoming cross cultural missionaries?
Oh, I I think there's two
Okay.
really big ones. The first one is it's going to be miserable. Like, most people, when they hear missions, they think, mud hut in Africa, underground church somewhere, extreme persecution. They think to the far side of things. And sometimes the Lord calls people into those places.
Mm,
But for the most part, it's one, it's not about being comfortable, because God doesn't say you'll always be comfortable. And so sometimes we allow that, like, desire to be comfortable limit us from what we actually can do, which is why fasting is a struggle for a lot of people, because it's like, but I'm hungry. It's like, but you'll be okay. Um, I think the second thing that's really big is the idea that you need to have your life together in order to start. Of like, okay, I need to have all the finances together. I need to know exactly, like, the exact pinpoint location of where I'm going, what it's going to look like when I get there, who am I going to be working with, like, all these answers. But when Jesus said, "Follow me" to the disciples, he did not give details. And so if we feel like God's calling us to go, then that's already our answer. Like, that's okay. Jesus said, "Follow me." So I'm going to follow.
wow. Just that whole of what you said there. We don't need to have it all together to say yes and to go. Hopefully that gives some of you guys freedom tonight. Like, okay, Story didn't have it together either.
I did not. Did not. Still don't have it together.
Oh, so tell us a little bit about your mission and why it is your passion.
Um, so when you say about my mission, do you mean just like what I do in general?
Yeah, what do you do there in Honduras, and why is this mission your passion?
Okay, so what I do here in Honduras has kind of three parts. So I live in a children's home. Right now I'm in the home. I don't know if, like, the sounds of the kids arguing is coming through, but they've been grounded from the TV, so they have plenty of time to argue with each other. Um, so I live in a children's home. I work at a school during the day. Um, what the school does is they offer scholarships to kids that live inside the town who can't afford school. So a lot of our kids are either kids who have parents who moved to the States or moved to Spain, and they left their kids here so that they have more money, and they send that back to their kids, or they've been abandoned. Um, a lot of kids who their parents just don't make a lot of money, or they live with their grandparents, they live with sisters, aunts. That's a majority of my kids. So I work at the school during the day, and then one night a week, and I'd say about an hour a day, I work at a rehab that's right up the street, and I work with the women at the rehab, just kind of being an encouragement to them, being a voice. Um, being somebody to sit there with them and then staying overnight to make sure everybody stays safe overnight. So that's what I do here. As for my passion, I would honestly say, like, this honestly isn't my passion, but it's what God has asked me to do. And I keep that question in there because a lot of people think that you need to like be passionate about something or for what God to tell you to do, like it has to be your passion in order for you to go do it.
Mm,
Um, but God will sometimes ask you to go do something because he knows there's something there that you need, whether it's something in your heart that you need. For me, this place has been a place of healing for me, just because past times being on the mission field has not been great for me. So this has been a like, oh, missions can be different, and it's been a place of definitely a place of healing for me. Um, but I know it's not where I'm going to stay, and so
mm.
yeah,
So the work itself is the passion because that's what Jesus asked you to do, essentially.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm here.
Um, I just noticing Pastor Susie said Jesus didn't tell the disciples to follow a plan, he told them to follow him.
Yeah, just follow me.
And I imagine you feel like you're following him when you go and um, do these. I don't know. Maybe some people would say menial tasks of taking care of children, which is a lot of chaos. I'm sure.
Yes, it is a lot of
Um,
chaos.
yeah, but it's the kind of thing Jesus would do.
It is, and for there's so many times where we look at the pictures of Jesus's life and we think that they were these like individual, really big, like kind of crazy moments, which some were. But there were a lot where it's like, okay, he's having dinner with people. He did that every day. So it was something that, at the time, to them, it was probably like, oh, this is the, mediocre, we're having another dinner. Um, but for the people that Jesus impacted, that was a life-changing moment. And so,
Mm,
like, yeah, it could seem, I know a lot of times people ask, like, what crazy thing has God done for you in Honduras? And I'm like, nothing. I'm at school every day, checking homework, you know, helping kids with their goals and things. Um, but then there's these moments that you get to see where Jesus is allowing you to, you know, be Jesus to someone else, whether like, today we had the field trip and I had one girl that went on the field trip who does not have any friends because her sister has a physical disability. She has more hormones than she should. So she grows at like twice the rate of a normal person. So she is
mm,
in the third grade, but she is the size of a like fifth grader. So she very much sticks with her sister all the time, makes sure her sister's
mm,
doing well. Like, so today was her first field trip without her sister. And so we were on the bus and she goes, Miss, I have no friends. Like, I have no friends. And I was like, well, Jesus is your friend all the time. Like, he's always with you. He's your friend all the time. And Jesus lives in me and he lives in the other teachers. He lives in everybody here. So we are all your friends.
mm.
And so she gets off the bus and she's like telling everybody, I have a new best friend. I have a new best friend. And they're like, who's your new best friend? And she's like, oh, Miss Keisha and Jesus. I have a new best friend. And she was so all day. I have a new best friend. And so it's just like those little moments where it's like, yeah, it could have been another, maybe not so mediocre because it was a
Mm.
field trip day, but there was a time where Jesus got to come through.
What would it be like if we all had excitement like that? You
Yeah.
know? So I have one more big question before I open up to the rest of the chat to ask their own questions that they might have. And if nobody has questions, we'll just have story time with story. We'll come up with a few more. I I hear you have some backpacking stories, so I'd love to hear
I
about
do have backpacking stories.
that. um, But here's the question: what would you say is the biggest lesson you learned along the way that could help someone in this chat who is feeling God's call for them to be a worker in the harvest field today?
Mm. The first thing that comes to mind is like failure is your friend because the fear of failure keeps people from doing so many things. From like, you know, there's so many steps to, being a missionary, whether it's fundraising or, you learning the word and being able to speak and to share your testimony well, or even just going out and asking people, hey, do you want to hear about Jesus? Like, um, and a lot of people fear the no, and they fear the not making it or the struggle. Um, but you know, God makes us able, and the failure doesn't mean it's the end. Like we just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And as you build, as you go, um, you'll learn. You'll learn what works for you, what doesn't work for you. You'll learn what God has actually placed in you and what He hasn't placed in you. Um, yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest thing.
So, the fear of failure in one sentence, um, how would you describe what it takes to overcome the fear of failure?
I don't know. It takes failing to overcome the fear of failure.
It takes failings.
It really does. It just takes
Mm,
getting used to falling. Like,
yeah.
uh, so you know, all of us had to learn to walk at some time, or we had to learn to write, or we had to learn to read, and we messed up a ton doing it. But if we let our failure in that, teach us that we can't do it,
Hmm.
a lot of us wouldn't be watching the stream right now, typing something in chat, going back to, a Bible that we have nearby us to go read. Like, we wouldn't do it. So, yeah, go fail. You'll be okay.
Yeah. Did you ever chat think that somebody would tell you just go fail, you know?
You'll
Go
be
fail
fine.
over
Go
and
fail.
over. Uh, wow. I remember very distinctly a guy named Phil Clayco, part of the Nexus Church Planning Network in the Midwest. And I was at one of his conference things. And he said to all of us there that were church planners at the time, he said, oh man, Sim just calling it out. He said, run with scissors. He said, go try things. Um, and in the same token, he also said, uh, fail quickly, recover faster. Fail
Yes.
quickly, recover faster. What cracked me up about that time together, though, was a guy named Ralph Moore that was there sharing about how there was this big church planting movement going on in the United States and in Hawaii that he had been a part of. I thought it was awesome. And anyways, he heard Phil Claycomb say, run with scissors. And he like took the mic out of Phil's hand and said, well, maybe safety scissors. It cracked me up so much. It was great. Maybe safety scissors.
He's like, gotta make it a little bit safer.
uh, it's like God gives us safety scissors and it's like run with it. Run with
He's
it.
like,
Go
just
try
go.
go
Just
try
go.
some
You'll
stuff.
be fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You will be fine. So I am opening up now to the chat. If you have friends, we got Pastor Susie joining us in the chat now, like his entire stream. So if you have questions and you want to ask them now of Story, I'll be able to see those highlighted in my chat here, and I'll queue those up so that I can ask them. My bride says, "Nah, I'm running with sewing scissors. I can't. I almost said sewer scissors. I'm running with sewing scissors. Can't beat how sharp they are until they are used on paper. True. True.
Yeah.
Yep. You have any stories from your backpacking adventures while we're waiting for our wonderful, amazing church family to come up with questions for you?
I gotta pick one. Okay. Um, yeah. I feel like I shared about the cows before. We've had a lot of encounters with cows. I don't know why, but
While
there are a lot of
backpacking?
cows in the wilderness. Well, backpacking out in the middle of nowhere. Because apparently in Wyoming, a lot of the land that is also like protected national forest is also ranch land, and they just kind of let the cattle wander wildly, and then sometimes horse packers will come out and collect them. So it's not uncommon to run across cows somewhere out in the wilderness.
Okay. I wouldn't have expected that.
I did not expect it either. We had to actually chase away a herd of cows from our campsite because they really wanted our campsite. So we had to keep chasing the herd away from the campsite.
All right. That's interesting.
Uh, I was like, so there's a story. I've been terrorized by cows in the wilderness.
Never thought I'd heard somebody
Uh,
say that. Pastor Susie
yep.
does have a question for you here.
Okay.
What would you both, oh, he includes both of us in this.
Aha.
What would you both say to someone who feels like they can't be a worker in the field because they aren't a pastor or a missionary?
Bruh, I wasn't a pastor or missionary before I started. Became one. But also like I was talking with Rhino before the stream of just like, the people, if you don't feel called specifically to go, you may be called to support. Because some people get that fire, that passion, the excitement for missions, that they might try and try and try again, and it keeps falling apart. And it's because, or there's a good chance, because I'm not going to say I'm not the Lord, that you may be someone who's called to support missionaries, whether it's,
Hmm.
coming out and visiting and giving them company, because it is very lonely, or it's giving financially to make sure their needs are met, or getting them connected with other people who can help them in different areas. Um, so you may not be called specifically to go. You may be called to support. Um, then, the other side, I wasn't, I still don't even consider myself a pastor. So,
Yeah, it's a big question, and it is what I'm passionate about, honestly. I feel like everybody is called to be a worker in the harvest field. And here's why. It goes back to the very end of the book of Matthew when Jesus gives the Great Commission. And he says, therefore, go and make disciples of all nations. And before that, he says, all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that I have commanded you. And it comes with a promise, behold, I am with you always to the very end of the age. Here's the thing. If it was just those 12 men that Jesus was talking to that made disciples, would you be here today? The reason why we're here today is because those disciples went out and made more disciples of Jesus, who made more disciples of Jesus, who made more disciples of Jesus. Yes, those 12 men were the first leaders in the church, but they weren't the real heroes. The heroes were the people they reached that went out and made more disciples. They were heroes because they were hero makers, not because they were heroes themselves. Panoy Pen says, this isn't a question, but I like your Chelsea jersey. So
why, thank you. It's just, it's the best.
And thanks for the follow, by the way, Pinoy. It's good to see you. We haven't talked in ages. I think we haven't talked since Stable Bears.
You're getting surprised with all the new people today.
Yeah, I haven't. We need to catch up, Pinoy. My bride says, "What is your favorite dish from Honduras?"
Ooh, oh, that's so hard. There's a lot of really good things. And the funny thing is like the staple here is rice, beans, tortillas, and chicken. So it's all just variations of the same thing. But I think my favorite variations, uh, baleadas, which are like it's beans, eggs, sometimes sour cream, and it's just a gigantic tortilla, and it's folded and put on the stove for a little while, and it's typically eaten for breakfast, and they are amazing. I don't know what makes them amazing because if you're just thinking it's just beans, eggs, and sometimes sour cream, but it's amazing. Outside of baleadas,
It's so simple but
there's something
amazing,
called
apparently.
I know there's this thing called pollo chuco, and it's like fried chicken and some kind of coleslaw put on top of it, and it's really good.
I have not heard of that one.
I don't even like coleslaw, and I will eat this.
Oh, Pastor Susie, what a legend maker. Subscribing to my channel, being the first one with a
Well, look
prime.
at that. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. You're an amazing human being, just like Story here. All right. So, question. Where's the other one? I saw another one. There it is. Solex, our dear friend Solex. Do you ever feel lonely as a missionary?
Oh yeah, for sure. Even if you're surrounded by people, because it's people outside of your culture. And so there's just times where, you just want somebody else to understand what you're going through. Like specifically, whether it's cultural wise or, things like I just need somebody to say, I really, 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 really would like a shower where the hot water stays on. Just one time. Just once. Or, being able to be, yeah, to have those moments with, where it's like somebody else understands. Um, yeah, there's a lot of those moments.
Yeah. How do you get through those moments?
I thankfully have a coworker here who we actually come from the same church, the same city, and she started, I think, 4 years after I did, but we just ended up because God knew the
Hmm.
struggle. So we ended up in the same place. So thankfully, I have somebody that I can go to be like, I really miss Bojangles. I miss Chick-fil-A.
I
I
know
miss
that
going
one.
to the lake. I miss going to the beach and, actually being able to get in the water and it's not full of trash. Just random things.
Right. Wait, so is there not lakes in Honduras?
Uh, well, there's one giant lake called Lake Yohoa. Um, Other than that, no. It's,
Okay.
it's mostly mountains, and I think there's like some small man-made lakes and things around. Um, but I wouldn't get in them.
Yeah. Okay. As in like you might come away with things that you don't want if you got in them.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Which
Now
yeah.
the Caribbean is pretty much the northern part of Honduras. So if you go to the north and go across the islands, you're in the Bahamas. So that section is nice, great for swimming, but
Yeah,
not so much down here.
for sure. For sure. Here's a question from me. Okay. What um what do you do with your backpacking stuff? Like, or at least in the past, what have you done with your backpacking stuff? I've heard rumors that you've used it as like a prayer ministry of the sort and a training grounds for disciple makers.
Yeah. So the organization that I'm primarily in, what they do is they take 11 months and they will train people through a lot of the like mental, physical, and a little bit of like the in-person parts of what it takes to be a missionary. And one part of that is what's called our wilderness semester. And actually, we just had a group, a new academy. Our new academy this year just left for the wilderness semester like 2 days ago. Um, so they spend 3 months in the wilderness. There's three sections to that. The first is outdoor living, which is basic camping, because a lot of times people have never been camping before. So you go out, you have like a nice kitchen area, you've got like, you get to cook over the stove, you've got chairs, you have tents and sleeping bags and things, and then we take all that away. And you go to what's called primitive living or traditional living, which is where you have a knife, a tarp, and two wool blankets, and that's it. And you have to cook over a fire, you're boiling your water over fire, you build your own shelter, and then you have to sleep in your shelter until like the end of that training once your shelter is built. Um, that one is probably one of the most transformative sections, partially because every morning we're spending 3 hours in prayer. So they're like, hey, go find a spot and stay there till we call you. And
Hmm.
we just yell really loud. um, and the other part is that is typically where a lot of people start to push past their limits. Um, but it's also where people realize like I have to live with the same people for the next like month and we can't leave. So we have to deal with the conflict in person.
Mm.
And so that's where people start learning how to work together with other people. Because one of the number one reasons missionaries leave the field is not being able to work with others. Um, so that's where they really started. And then the last month is backpacking. And typically, I think they're splitting it up now where it's, I think, 2 or 3 weeks backpacking and then 2 weeks canoeing. Just because we've had more families, and with families, it's a lot easier to do canoeing than it is to like try to get kids to carry a backpack for miles. Um, so during my training year, and I think the years after, just because there were no kids, we stayed up to 25 to 30 days in the wilderness without coming out at all. Like the instructors would go out and get our new food and bring it back in. Now I think their top is around 14 to 20 days. Like they'll try to keep anyone who doesn't have kids out the entire time. And if they have kids, they'll give them time to come out and give the kids like a rest and a reset. So yeah, that's wilderness training. They'll be trained in all the wilderness survival skills, but also trained in like conflict resolution, like leadership skills. Um, you spend a lot of time in prayer. Like how do you hear the voice of God? How do you sit still for 3 hours when you have no music? Um, it's just you, your Bible, and the birds if they're up. Sometimes that time is pretty early.
Yeah. Well, that piques my curiosity a little bit. You mentioned how do you sit still for 3 hours? How do you sit still for 3 hours? And do you know the answer?
Practice,
Okay.
practice, practice. Like there are times where I intentionally say, I'm going to spend time with Jesus with nothing else. Like I'm not going to put on any music. I'm not going to read a devotional. I'm not going to, look at a book or something first to guide my prayer time. Like I'm going to sit and listen. Um, and most people find that part the hardest because they struggle with silence. You say all the words that you feel like you have to say, and then you're like, what do I say next? And it's like, well, now you get to listen. You get to learn to listen. And so practice.
Is there any tips that you can give? So, say you're sitting and you're listening, maybe out in the wild somewhere, because that's the context we're talking about.
Mhm.
and your mind starts to wander instead of listening. Is there any tips that you can give for how to bring your focus to God in that moment?
Um, One, Thanksgiving, because you can't think about anything else when you're thanking God, but to think about God. Um, Something I do when I'm not in the wilderness, sometimes in the wilderness, because waterproof notebooks exist. They're amazing, by the way. And if you are the person that gets your best thoughts in the shower, get a waterproof notebook. Because that's me. That's me. Um, I will have a notebook that I keep at the side to where if I'm thinking about something about the day, like it's like, oh yeah, I have to set an appointment for this, or oh, I have to remember to do this thing. I write it in the notebook and then I go back to prayer because it's like, okay, I've written it down, I've gotten it out of my mind, I can come back to it later. So just finding ways to redirect your focus.
Hmm.
Um, the other thing is to pay attention to when God is bringing something up for you to pray about, because sometimes the things that are coming up in your mind are not actually there for distractions, it's direction. And so pay attention to when it's like, okay, that thing is just not, it's not going away. Let me pray about this first, and if it goes away, then cool, I know it was God directing me. If I have lost all focus and attention, it's probably something I need to deal with.
Hmm. Yeah, those are great tips. Have you ever heard of breath prayers? Is that something you've ever used in situations like that where you have a Bible verse that you're using, like "For God so loved the world," for example, and you're breathing in part of the verse and breathing out the other part of the verse, and just solely trying to focus on that verse and that verse alone?
I haven't heard of that, but I have had someone who came to my church before that taught us about like um, putting scripture that we're trying to memorize to songs, or like
Mm.
trying to make a song out of it. Um, because I was a musician, so that was something that made sense in my head.
Yeah, that's huge, Pastor Susie. What Story said there. If someone wants to find that and clip it, that's good. When something keeps coming to your mind, it might not be a distraction, it might be a direction. Directly from the mouth of Story. But I do have to ask, did you get that wisdom from somebody else or did you come up with that?
That was personal experience. A
Yeah, great. That's awesome.
lot of personal experience of being like, oh my goodness, this is not escaping, and then praying about the thing, and later somebody would send a message of like, hey, this thing happened to me. I'm like, that's what I prayed about.
Hmm. Yeah. I'll be honest, I've actually heard other people who are prayer warriors say that. Like, not in the same way that you said it. I love the way you said it. When something keeps coming to your mind, it might not be a distraction, it might be direction. Um, but I have heard other people talk about that. So the spirit, you're on the same wavelength as the spirit with other Christian Story.
Because they've
That's good.
experienced it too.
It's good. That is awesome. Do you have one more story that you would like to share? Like if there is any story that you could
Mm.
pick out of all of your time as a missionary cross culturally, um, is there a story that you would share as like the last story you want to share on stream tonight?
Yeah, because I guess the one that comes to mind is hopefully something that'll encourage people that feel like, maybe you don't feel like you're enough, or you just don't know enough, or you're going through a time with God where you feel really low, or don't even know if God exists right now, because I've definitely walked through those moments. Um, in 2023, I was going through some pretty bad burnout. Like I was exhausted from ministry. Um, I knew like my love for people was low. I barely felt like I knew God, didn't want to pray, didn't want to spend time in worship. And that was the year we were having like these mass campaigns in Nicaragua. And when I say mass, I mean like the one that I went to, I think had over 300,000 people at it. Um, which is gigantic, gigantic there. And I'm at this campaign and I'm part of the prayer team. And I'm specifically part of the prayer team for the healing tents for people who need healing or deliverance from something. Um, and I'm at this point, I'm barely holding on to faith. And I'm like,
Mm,
God, why am I in this spot when you know where I'm at? And that morning, the evangelist at the time, he came in and he spoke to us and he's like, you have to keep in mind that it's not about you. Like it's not about how you feel. It's not about where you think you're at with God. It's not about your capabilities or even knowing the language. Because I barely speak Spanish. I can understand a ton, but I don't know a lot. And one of the great things here is I live where a lot of people here speak English. Um,
mm,
so we go out for the campaign and we're underneath the tents. And the very first lady that we get has cancer in her feet. And she can barely stand. It's very painful for her. Her feet were gray. Um, and so I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to pray, and I just have to have the faith that God's going to move. And so I prayed for her. It was funny because it was me and the coworker that's actually still here with me, and we reached out to pray, and she's like, don't. She didn't want us to touch her because it hurt her so much for people to like touch her feet. And
mm,
so we were like, okay, well, we're just gonna put our hands on your legs. Like we won't touch your feet. We'll put our hands on your legs. And we pray for her. And when we finish, we ask her, how's she feeling? And she doesn't answer us. And so we're like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And she tells us that she can feel her feet. Like there was no pain. Like she could just feel her feet on the ground. Um, and so she was healed from the cancer. She went up and walked around and had absolutely no pain. And this was like probably the lowest point, one of the lowest points that I've definitely had in my walk with God. And it just kept going because we went from her and we went to another lady who had sun poisoning and it was all across her neck. And she just had a lot of pain, couldn't like had to keep completely covered because any sunlight on it would make it hurt worse. And so we go and we pray for her, and the rash shrinks, and she didn't have any more pain. Like she had a little bit of a rash still left when we left
mm,
her, but she didn't have any pain anymore. And then we go to a guy who was deaf in one ear, and we pray for him, and we could snap in his ear, and he could hear it. And so you get this guy who went from being deaf to hearing. Um, there was a boy with a heart problem, and we prayed for him. And by the end of the night, he was running around, and his mom's like, he's never run before. Um, but the biggest one was there was a boy in a wheelchair, and he had never walked his whole life. He had never stood, couldn't move his legs or anything, and different prayer teams had kept coming to him throughout the night. And so the first prayer team went, he was able to like lift his foot a little bit. Second prayer team came, he was able to lift his leg. Third prayer team came, he was able to lift like from his knees. And then we got to him and we prayed for him. And he was able to like get up from his chair, but he couldn't keep himself up. And so, you know, by that point, I'm like, okay, God, I can't even argue that you move no matter how I feel or what I do or anything about me. The last thing I want to see is this boy walk. And so we get called back up to the front because they're ending. And just for like security, we have to go back behind when they're ending. And I'm standing up on the stage, just kind of watching as people are getting prayed over and stuff at the end. And I turn around, and the boy's on the side of the stage with some of the prayer ministers, and he's standing. And they're praying for his legs. And as they're praying for his legs, they tell him to start walking, and he starts taking steps, and he starts walking. And they had to actually hold him because he kept trying to run, and he just wasn't at that point at that point yet. He kept trying to run. Um, but that for me was probably like my biggest moment of like, I need to get out of God's way. I can't let my fear, I can't let my insecurity, I can't let my feelings, I can't let my financial situation, I can't let, family circumstance, my health. because I struggle with a lot of health issues here. I'm highly allergic to mold living in Latin America where the walls mold. Um, and it's like I can't let any of those things diminish the power of God and what he
Mm,
can do, because it's not about me. It's not.
mm, it's not about me. Yeah. Wow. Chew on that one, chat. It never is about us. We we may try to draw a crowd around ourselves or try to get attention from other people, but it really isn't about us. Well, tonight's been good story. I do want to go ahead and give you a shout out in my chat here. Um, if any of you are feeling called by God to give to story in any way, shape, or form, just I put the link in the chat for her. She is a missionary and um, she makes a living, or not makes a living. She is supported by you so that she can keep doing the kinds of things that we've been talking about tonight. So yeah. Susie does have something here. Let's see what this is. As Susie, oh, okay, that's part of his stream. Okay, cool. I was like, what is this? Um, yeah, he has a link in there to share his story. So he says, haha, sorry about that. No, you're good. You're good. I thought you were gonna ask Story to tell more stories. So, that's great. That's his bot. That's not my bot. Um, Simcha, my bride says, I heard something someone said that has stuck with me. We got to tell our problems how big our God is instead of telling God how big our problems are. Love this. And thank you, Story. So thank you so much for being with us tonight and sharing this. So yeah,
Yeah, thank you for having me on stream.
yep. And as far as that goes, like next week on Thursday night, I'll be interviewing Forged by Grace 7, who made the Forged Bible bot that I use on this stream to share Bible verses. So y'all won't aren't going to want to miss that. So feel uh, if you aren't following me, give me a follow. So um, I don't know if Susie's watching that next week. So if you're interested in that, give me a follow. So so anyways, just saying. Um, I hope everyone has a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening, and just join me in this journey of like I was praying about this, and I'm like, God, what do you want to do with this stream? And the big thing that's on my heart right now is, can I interview God somebody from every single country? Like God, I think that would be really cool. Um, one day I'll figure out how to do what Pastor Susie does with his fancy not green screen. He was telling me it's just an app, and I'll put a map up behind me, and we'll start putting push pins up there or something. Yeah, I can't wait to see what God has cooking. And then dream of a dream, like there's one YouTuber that I would really like to interview because it would make my boy's day, and he is a Christian and has shared his testimony. His name's Ryan Trahan. So, dream of a dream, I'd love to interview that guy. That would be so cool. So that's what's cooking here. Let's see what happens. Yeah, yeah. Nvidia has the green screen app as part of their software. Yes, yes, McBeck, and that's what I'm getting ready to look into. But I don't know if my graphics card can handle it. So if my graphics card can handle it, we'll put a map behind me occasionally. So we'll see. All right, guys. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful evening. We'll see you next time. My next stream is Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. EST. I'll just be reading Bible and hanging out with my son playing Minecraft. But other than that, Thursday is the next big interview. So we'll talk soon. Bye.